G'day guys, Charles20 here, and welcome back to Oceania. That's right baby, we have officially named the series, the map, the region, Oceania. Big thank you to everyone for your name suggestions. It was tough to choose. There were lots of really good ones, and I tried to find something that was like best suiting for not just Australia, but also New Zealand, and even some of the other countries that sit within Oceania. And bam baby, that is it. We've got it. It's Oceania. And yes, it is the name for this whole region that includes a bunch of countries, including Australia, New Zealand. It is the name of the region, but you know what? Everything is a name. So that's kind of just it, you know? You can't just name anything original these days. Everything has already been done and everything is already a name. And I just think it's a really nice fit. I think it's a beautiful name. I think it's is easy to pronounce. A lot of the name suggestions, I didn't even know how to pronounce them. So that's an automatic cannot go there. And a lot of the names, I'm just gonna bank them and use them for other places on the map. Maybe the city will be called that. We still don't even know what the city is going to be named. And you know, there's some really great names out there, and like, please keep them coming because it's all about naming this bad boy up. And you know what? You can name it whatever you like when you download the map and play it for yourself, because it is officially on the Steam Workshop. If you are watching this, it's on the workshop, so go and check it out. I don't think I'm going to call it Oceania. I think I might call it Oceania. I don't know. Just look out for an upload from $2.20. You know, I'd love to see this thing go onto the front page of Steam. I don't think I've ever had anything go on the front page of Steam, so that would be really fun. And I have to admit, and I did start talking about this in the last episode, but this is not a perfect map. There's already a whole bunch of things that I am really keen to change, like pretty quick. Very keen to change. Some big changes too. I'm looking at this footage, I'm laying down the commentary for it, and I did all this and finished all this about 2 months ago, maybe even longer. I know I've been holding on to it for a while, and you might be like, why don't you just release it when you finish it? Well, you know, I have a very, I'm pretty good at uploading every week, and that's the reason why. It's nice to have videos ready when I've got hectic weeks and don't need to worry about, you know, getting a video ready in time and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I'm kind of not talking about the things I want to be talking about. But basically, I'm looking at this footage and I'm thinking about this map, and there's just so much I want to change already. It just doesn't flow. Some things aren't in the right place. And I'm going to talk about that in more detail around the 13-minute mark when I go into a live play, and we just dive into all the places I want to change, all the places I'm happy with, because like over 50% of the map I'm happy with. And around the city, which is the part I want to be working on in the next episode, that's all fine. I'm happy with that. And even what I'm doing now, pretty happy with this area. But there are definite areas, particularly around the deserts, that I'm just looking at and thinking, in terms of building something that feels like it's connected, something that utilizes space the best, and also places that provide great vistas and fit and flow, all that great stuff that we've spoken about. You know, it's just not, it's not there. It's not how I want it to be, because that stuff is very, very important to me. That is the whole purpose of this map, is just really try and work out, you know, the root of these open world games and how to create these environments that are just so, you know, that just really feel connected and well positioned and placed. You know, to get into the open world discussion again, because that's something that I'm quite passionate about, and do let me know if you are too. But the whole purpose of these open world video games, to create these open immersive environments, is so that the player can navigate around this map easily. I don't want to harp on about it. I know it's a bit of a meme for people to say, hey, your city looks like Grand Theft Auto 5, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, whatever. But, you know, I get it. I think it's because that world is ingrained on people's minds. And I think it's ingrained because there's a lot of character within that map. There's a lot of diversity within the city. There's not just one type of area within the city. There's, you know, every time you go into a new district, you know exactly where you are. You know the exact type of place it is. The towns feel very distant. The desert feels dry and desolate. You know, everything just feels how it should. I think there are a lot of games that do open world really well. I think the Mafia games do it really well. I know the Mafia 3 map is a map that I'm looking very much for inspiration for the way that they create certain districts within their cities, something that I want to take inspiration from. And the Red Dead map is something I've already mentioned, but I think that they do transitions between different biomes really well, and something that I'm also trying to incorporate. But you know, looking at that map and seeing how big it is and how distant certain areas are, but they still feel so connected because you can actually see the link between those different areas. Whereas if you were to look at a lot of other maps, a lot of other open world maps, and I think that those worlds feel very disconnected because you just seem to have these isolated areas that, you know, are meant to feel a certain way or meant to represent something, but they don't really feel like they're all combined within the same world. So that's sort of what I'm going to try and do. I want to try and create something that feels like it's all part of the same world, even if it feels very strange to have a desert so close to certain areas. You know, there are ways to justify it, and I think that what I've done represents it pretty well, but there are things that I do definitely want to change, and I'm pretty excited about it because I actually do already know what I want to change. And I do want to invite you guys to let me know what you think I could potentially change to create a more realistic and well put together environment. I mean, you've got the opportunity to open up the save game or open up the map and play for yourself and see what you can change. But yeah, I'll talk more about this in the live play. I mean, I've spent half the... Yeah, I haven't even spoken about what I've been doing, so I'm sorry about that. I mean, I'm just going to quickly talk about what I've already done, which is create farmland around where the city is going to be, and I've also created some salt flats too, which is out in the desert. I mean, these are a much better improvement, a much bigger improvement from my sandy salt flat that's in Marble Mountain. I think that having a map theme that's provides lots of different textures and colors to choose from really helps to create better looking salt flats rather than just some sand that I've placed in the middle of the desert. But yeah, I think that just works out really well. But all that farmland and those windy roads, we'll take a bit more of a look at that in the live play, I promise. But what I do want to talk about now is working on some of these islands that sit out in the foggy areas of this map. And so the idea behind this is that this is like out in the foggy areas, so you're not really going to see it when we're just working on the map. But then I would like to come over this way, turn off the fog, get nice and close to this island and make something over here, because I think it'd be really nice to, I don't know, maybe create... I've got a couple of ideas. I'll talk about that in a second. But what I'm sort of vibing for this area is I wanted to do a little bit of a nod to the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland, which is just an absolutely amazing location within Australia, and something that's I've been to a couple of times, only the fringes of it, and that was still just absolutely mind-boggling amazing. And working within the map creator of City Skylines doesn't really allow you to have as much freedom as I wanted to. I mean, I could have subscribed to some assets that would have given me something better to work with in terms of creating coral reefs and you know, really low-lying shorelines. But I decided not to do that because when I release it to the workshop, I do want to have limited amounts of extra assets that you guys have to download. So I was just doing it pretty bare bones at this stage. And when I come back to this area, we're going to do some coral reef and make this place like a very tropical type of location. But for the time being, I have made a very, very shallow area around the islands, just joining these four together, this main one in the middle. And this works really well to create this very low, this very shallow sandbank, which I think we could probably put some decals down. There's actually some props that you can place down that are some coral props. I think it just will look really, really nice. But that's something that I want to do a little later. But when I do revisit this area, I do have some ideas. So idea number one is we could have a town that's on the mainland and like a very, very small town. And maybe that town's touristic, and the idea behind that town is you take boats out and do tourist trips to the coral reef. That's one idea, and leave this island untouched. We could also have a resort out on this island, because there are a couple of resorts out this way around Queensland that sit on these islands, and they're just like beautiful, picturesque resorts. I think that might be quite cool. Or we could totally embrace the idea of Oceania and create like a really remote community that lives out this way. It could even be like another country. I mean, there is a bit of distance between the mainland and this island out this way, but it is an island and it is this really beautiful tropical area that I think would be really nice to create something along those lines. Could be anything. I mean, let me know what you guys think. I like all those ideas. I think they could be really fun to add something like that. But I think whatever we do, it's going to be different to whatever we build in other locations. So the idea is we don't want to do anything that feels repetitive. You know, if we build a, you know, coastal town on one side of the map, you know, if we're going to build another coastal town, it's got to be very different to whatever we build on the other side. You know, we don't have anything that feels the same, looks the same. And I actually really can't wait to start working in the city because we're going to be really working on that type of concept, making sure that all those different districts feel so unique and so different. I think a really great representation of that is, and I'm going to say it again, the Mafia 3 map, just because they do a really great job at showing where different, and in this case it's different gangs operate and the different districts within this city. But I really love the way it's so distinct, it's so clear, and I know they use water and you know, highways and all sorts of things to show that difference between the different areas. But I think that's like key when it comes to creating different types of places. I really want to, you know, represent those places to the best as I possibly can. You know, if we're going to have like a hipster place, it's got to be like super duper duper hipster, you know, lots of graffiti and coffee shops and bars, and, you know, we're going to really play that up. And the industrial areas, they're going to be very industrial, lots of noise, lots of pollution, they're going to be gross. Downtown's going to be busy and bustling and corporate, it's going to feel very business-esque, and districts with mansions that are overlooking, you know, the city, ocean views, those sort of places. And then the other side of the thing, you know, people doing it pretty tough, rough neighborhoods, but also just like showing the difference between different lifestyles, different parts of the city, showing the grit, showing the wealth, showing, you know, the different intricacies of what a city is made up by, and really hamming it up. You know, we're not going to just place a couple of houses and say this is a rough neighborhood and a couple of broken decals. No, you should be able to tell the difference between different areas, even just walking across the streets, hamming it up, making sure that those places are very distinct. And I really can't wait to get into that side of it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and just really can't wait. There's some kids downstairs screaming in the playground. I hope that doesn't come through the microphone. But anyway, we're just finishing up the build by placing down some things to honestly get the map ready for the Steam Workshop, because I want it to be very workable for you guys. So when you jump in, fly around, you can build whatever you like, wherever you like. And on that note, I'm going to jump in game and fly around and show you some of the areas that I absolutely love, some ideas that I have for some places, and then what's on the chopping block, what am I going to change, and yeah, I don't know, I have nothing else to say. Alright, let's do it. Oceania in all her glory. Isn't she magnificent? Even with the things I want to change. We'll talk about that in this live play. But I am going to give you a little tour about the places that we've built, the ideas that I have behind some areas. But I'm going to kick things off by showing you where you're going to be starting your city if you were to download this map. And, you know, I'm also going to show you some of my real light settings and color settings if you want to try and capture what I have going on in terms of colors. But this is the map from its bird's eye view, and it's pretty nice. It's a little strange when you look from this angle, but you know, it's not meant to be a map to be looked like this. It's more meant to be looked closer up, getting some nice vistas from some of its many areas that really look forward to just starting to work on, so we can start seeing what the city looks like with all these mountains rolling around it. But anyway, let's show you some of the graphic settings so you can get the colors looking exactly how we've got it going on. So my ultimate eye candy settings are like this, and this is what I have in terms of relight. It's pretty similar to my Marble Mountain, and I'm going to change it a little bit. I'll include a screenshot when I upload it to the workshop. I'm using relight neutral in terms of my LUT, And I'm also using the render it mod. Here's a couple of settings. There you go. Follow along if you want to. That's about it. Alright, so when you download this map from the workshop, it's going to look a little different from this. It won't have my planning for the airport. I'm going to get rid of that. I might fix up this lumpy mountain too, which I don't know why it's so lumpy. But when you do download it from the workshop, you will have this area as your starting tile. And you will need the 81 tiles mod, unless you just want to work within a very limited space on this map. I don't recommend it. Just download the mod. It's really great, particularly for this map. But this is the area that I've designated for the Steam Workshop if you want to download it and build a city in this area. I've also put in this interchange, which is quite, I mean, it's great. It's a lovely looking interchange. It's a little bit wonky and messy in areas, but you know, some interchanges are like that. I grabbed this one from the workshop and I've just modified it a little bit by putting in this area over here, which I think might be a nice spot to start your city. It's up to you. By the way, if you do end up building on this map, like, send me some screenshots. I've got many areas that you can send screenshots, so please hit me up. We've got rail coming through. All the traffic is coming through an intersection. Let's have a look at that intersection. There it is. Oop, getting some glitches down there. And I've got the same thing going on around over here. We've got an underground interchange. And that's great because, you know, most traffic is going to be happening around this area over here. You know, I don't really want many vehicles going out further, you know, unless they have to. So it's quite nice. We're going to see a lot of action, a lot of people, a lot of traffic around these areas. Should make for some interesting interactions with the city. But like I've mentioned, this whole series is meant to be about creating much nicer vistas in certain areas. And I think the city is going to be really well surrounded by mountains and oceans, particularly when you get the shadows in the right area. I am quite happy with how that looks. We've got this farmland to start things off. I think this is going to be a nice transition into the city. That's why I built it. I'm not going to keep much of it when I start working on this map, but it's something that I do really like. Okay, that's something else I got to change for when I upload it to the workshop. But yeah, I do like these windy farms that are kind of coming into the city. Coming into the city via this highway, we're going to have some really nice suburbs that are going to just be floating around here, and potentially an outskirt town that's going to be situated on this riverside. Airport over here, like I mentioned, clicking the wrong buttons. Work with the shadows, guys, always work with the shadows. And also, something else I should probably mention. So I highly recommend using the cube map replacer. I've set it to this example cube map. I actually really like this one. It's one of the more basic ones, but I think I prefer it than a lot of the others. Go to clouds and fog toggler and just disable clouds. And that way you actually get this really nice effect where it looks like the water just continues to the horizon and it feels like there's no borders. And that's quite nice. So yes, my city is going to sit around here, and this mountain's going to frame the city, and we'll have some coastal neighborhoods around here, and I think it's just going to be lovely. Alright, so which way are we going to go? Let's get out of the city and follow along here. Of course, this is just it's a little gross. Okay, it's a little gross. But I will obviously change these areas when I work around here myself. But yeah, I've sort of designed this whole map so that we get some really nice looking areas. You know, if we're coming into the city, we got some like really nice skyline views of the city coming in, and you know, I think coming out of the city, it's like just met with coastal areas. I think it's gonna be beautiful. Maybe a coastal town around here. Lovely. Alright, so coming through the first tunnel. And bam, we're out of the city and we're into some of the more coastal areas of this whole map. And we're met with this beautiful mountain, which I really love. Can't wait to get some grey flames on this mountain, some grey flame rocks that is. And the rail line, as you can see, follows along this area, and we're met with this giant forest, another mountain that sits around here, and I plan to put a town over this way. Potentially another forest around here. We might creep into this area. Let's just work with the shadows a little bit. And bam. To see how well, I mean, can I just show you something? This and this. Massive difference. But yeah, potentially farmland, potentially some forest. I haven't quite decided yet, but the rail is definitely coming in. And this is where the town's going to sit amongst this really beautiful area. I mean, I think that this is one of the nicest areas to look on this map. I'm really excited. Love this plane flying over. But I'm really excited to get in here and build some, you know, some really nice country town vibes. Getting out of the city and just amongst this forest and this coastline and this beach. But then you just sort of creep out of this town a little bit and you're going to have some logging going on because this town is going to be very much a logging town. But yeah, we've got this really nice headland that I really just, I think that looks beautiful. Look out towards the ocean. You have a couple of islands, which we might work on as we get further into this series. Just looking over here, there is a waterfall. There was a waterfall. We'll get a waterfall. We'll do a waterfall, I promise. Before we get over this way, let's follow this route, which is the highway. We're still like a major highway going through here because we do have a major town over this way. But yeah, following this canyon along, we're going to have like a really cool bridge over here. And, you know, at the moment, this is looking pretty bare bones, but I'm going to get some really nice rocks in here and this is going to look great. I can't wait to get into this area. But, I mean, just looking up at some of the vantage points, you can see the potential, right? I can see the potential at least. But yeah, coming through, getting a little bit more rural. And now, I mean, we've just placed in a couple of trees to show that the place is just changing into a little bit more of a town, regional city. And then this is where I plan to put some sort of university city, or university town, I should say. It's not a huge amount of space, but I actually think it's going to be perfect for what I want to place down. But anyway, we're going to put a town around here. And as you can see, the river just sort of branches out. You know, you can see where it starts at the dam. There's also like a little stream that stretches through here. And yeah, it just comes through, meets the ocean. I quite like that. But you know what, let's just follow this along. Let's follow this a little along the way. We'll create a custom dam around here. Like, of course, all this is very bare bones, guys. A lot of this is going to change when we work into the series. But I quite like this in terms of, you know, stretching from a regional city back into the city, the major city. Because I think you're going to be following this highway along and then you're going to see the city in the distance over there. But let's take a different route. So there is this smaller road that I haven't connected up because I'm just not ready yet. But yeah, we've got this road that stretches up here. This is what I did in this time lapse. And let's just get some shadows. And we're back. But yeah, this is going to be just a super cinematic, beautiful drive up here. And we're going to be met with this island, this very coastal region that's going to be a little bit tropical. We'll have to fill in a little bit more of these trees around here. But this is quite a nice little area. I really love this transition. Like I said, lots of vantage points. You know, we've got some really great cinematic areas that you should be able to see. You know, some farmland around here or a coastal town or whatever it is, city in the distance. You know, the desert, you can't see the desert unless you start stretching out further in other areas. A lot of possibility for this area. Like, I don't really know exactly what it's going to be yet, but I think we'll start deciding when we get the city established and we can see what could potentially be out this way. Need some work. But, I mean, you can see the potential. You just got to divert your eyes into the right locations, you know? Super nice. All right, let's go into the desert. There's some things to talk about. There we go. All right. Desert time. So, creep into that desert. Our main road turns into what is typically found around these desert areas and just these single lane. It just feels, I mean, this feels like a desert, doesn't it? And it feels very outbacky. I mean, especially when we get to areas like this and these clusters of trees, they've really changed. We've got more of these cactus and smaller gum trees too, but still, these places in Australia are very, very bushy, very foresty. So do want to try and capture that. And yeah, we built these, I don't know, can you say built? We made these salt flats, which I think complements the Pink Lake really well. So I think that's quite a nice little transition. And these are nice open roads. So I do like these open roads. I love this situated over here. And then we have what I am really excited to start working on. Won't be for a while, but it's going to be really fun. But this very outback Western Australia type of town, it's going to be pretty wild out this way. You know, lots of industry. It's going to be so different to the rest of the place. I mean, it's all the way out that way. I mean, it does feel like quite a distance. Shadows, people. Shadows. But yes, beautiful. Can't wait. It's going to be lots of fun. And then we have our canyon, and we've got some other areas, and this is where we start the portion of places I want to change. All right, so let me show you a couple of things. So, like, I love this map. I don't love it when it does that, so let's just stop that. That's a little better. So I do love this map, but there are things that we do need to update as we work on this series. So, in terms of things that I'm going to keep, we're going to keep all of this. Maybe I'll draw a circle. Yeah, there we go. Draw a circle. Point some arrows. So that's what I'm going to keep. I'm really, like, I love this area. I think there's a lot to work with. There's a lot to, you know, fine tune and detail. And when I say keep, I mean, like, change, but work with. You know, we can work with that area. I like the forest. I like where the city is going to sit. Mountains, great. Fine. Totally fine. The places I want to change is anything around these areas. And the reason why I want to change it is, first of all, I think that this just feels very disjointed from the rest of everything else. And I get it. Like, I understand the idea that I had going into it. I think that this river going through, I think it works. I think it's a fine river. I think it totally works. But it feels a little disjointed from the rest of the map. And I think I probably bit off too much than I can chew. I think we could probably try and squeeze in a little less concepts of the desert into this map than I was trying to include. I think I got a little overboard and tried to do too much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all this. It's pretty much like anything from over here I'm going to change. All this is going to change. But I'm going to continue the same concept. So we'll have this. We'll have some of these salt flats. And I do like I really love this corner. But, you know, it really is the corner of the map. And I have a problem with that. You know, the whole idea behind this map is to have a highway that stretches all the way around the map. And I actually didn't do that. This highway goes through the middle and there's an offshoot that goes to this area. I don't like that. I think it'd be really nice if this highway continued around the entire map. So this is fine, potentially, for now. But I think that this needs to, and it has the potential to do it, this needs to stretch around and go all the way around to this town. And I don't see how it's going to make it through this area over here. I think that we just scrap the whole concept of this desert canyon. I don't think I need it. I think what I need to do to make the map more well-rounded is to potentially, this idea of this canyon, to move that to over here. And we're already pretty much set up for it too. Because we've already got this forest, and we have this forest, and we can just creep it over here. And that way we've got this really nice big open forest with this canyon, and it's further away from the city, which I think makes more sense. This really isolated forest that is only really accessible via this highway that's a little smaller than this one over here. We keep this more farmland. You know, we keep this a little bit more like this. And we have this forest that stretches over here, and potentially stretches around until we get to this town. And we might have a mountain over here. And in terms of the Western Australia desert vibe that I do want to somehow create within this map, I think we go for it more around here, more in the middle of the map, and we make it a little smaller. You know, a lot of Australia is outback, and a lot of the outback is very dry, and I think a lot of people would classify it as desert. And I think we can really create that atmosphere by creating a town that is in the middle over here, that it feels very outback, and we can include this, but I think it just needs to be a little better integrated. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, but that's what's on the chopping block, and I want to work on it, but the priority right now is to work on the city. Now, the city is my main priority. I'm so keen to work on it, I just can't wait. I'm busting. I'm gonna work on it as soon as I finish recording this cinematic. It's just something that I think is going to be a lot of fun. So that's why we're not going to work on it right now. I really wish I could have fixed it and finished it before I uploaded it to the workshop, but I think then we just would take forever waiting for this series to start. But guys, I mean, let me know how you go with this map. If you end up building on it, it's very specific. It's very much niche. It's very much set up for my own work. Like, I get that. But see what you can do with this map. I mean, if you want to change some things, if you want to update it for what you think I should do, if you build some crazy city on here or build a whole bunch of little towns, I'd love to see. Alright, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for the support. I'm so glad you guys are keen for this, and I do hope you enjoyed the map when you work on it. And I am really excited to start working on this map. So we're going to start doing it and start releasing some episodes of building that city. If you want to show your support for the channel, you can like this video, subscribe to the channel, upvote the map when it's released, and go the next step further and become a patron. It really helps out the channel, keeps a really consistent schedule, and you can join the wonderful people supporting the channel, who I'm going to read out right now: Jordan Meaden, Simone Peachy, JPK, Lucas Corcuti, Phil Garrad, Leah Horton, Daniel Degard, and Reggie. Thank you to those guys for your support on Patreon, and thank you all so much for watching my ridiculous videos. It's very much appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!